This is Bluebook Digital SAT number 9, Math Module 2. What is the median of the data shown? You can actually type this directly into Desmos. Median of, and now let's just very carefully recopy the set. Now, it does not let you cut and paste it. I wish it did, but it does not. So you have to proceed very carefully once you commit to recopying it keystroke by keystroke like this. The median just is 79. You could have also said that there are 9 items. So if they're in order, which they are in this case, although they're not necessarily always, then simply the 5th item is the middle item. So it's 79. Right triangles LMN and PQR are similar, where L and M correspond to P and Q respectively. Let's draw this simple sketch. LMN PQR. L, M, N, P, Q, R. L and M correspond to P and Q, yes. M is 53 degrees, which means Q is in quicksand is also 53 degrees, and I'm marking these as the right angles. What is the measure of angle Q? Oh, it's simply 53 degrees because those are corresponding angles. Table shows 3 values of x and their corresponding values of y for the equation that, in the table, a is a constant. What is the value of a? So whenever it gives you a function and points on the function, they want you to write out what you get. So for example, if it's y equals 4 times 2 to the x plus 3, 11 is what you get when you do 4 times 2 to the 1 plus 3, which is of course 8 plus 3, so yes. And 19 is what you get when you do 4 times 2 to the 2 plus 3, as in 4 times 4 is 16 plus 3 is 19, yes. So now it should be that A is what you get when you do 4 times 2 to the 3 plus 3. So that's 4 times 8 is 32 plus 3 is 35. How many solutions does the given equation have? Well, you can tell just looking at this. X could be anything. For example, if x is 1, then it's 66 equals 66. If x is 3, then it's 198, right? Equals 198. So yes, the answer is infinitely many because they're the same line. Model predicts that the population of Bergen was 15,000 in 2005. The model also predicts that each year for the next 5 years, the population P increased by 4% of the previous year's population. Which following best represents this model where x is the number of years after 2005 for x being less than or equal to 5. Increasing by 4% is multiplying by 1.04. Increasing by 4% is multiplying by 1.04, which means just looking at it, it starts at 15,000. 15,000 is the y-intercept, as in what you get when you plug in x being 0. And 1.04 is the multiplier for every subsequent year, which is just d as in dog. The function h is defined by that. The graph of y equals h of x in the xy plane has an x-intercept at a comma 0 and a y-intercept at 0 comma b. So an x-intercept at a comma 0, as in h of a equals 0. So 0 is what you get as the output when you do 4a plus 28. So 4a is negative 28. So a itself is negative 7. And then separately, a y-intercept at 0 comma b. So h of 0 equals b. But h of 0 is 4 times 0 plus 28, which is just 28. So now you know you have the points negative 7, 0, and 0 comma 28. What is the value of a plus b? Oh, here we go. So a plus b is negative 7 plus 28, which is 21. Which expression is equivalent to that? It looks like this is a substitution question effectively. So if I think of star as the unit x minus 7, then the numerator can be written as 8x star minus 3 star. And then the bottom factors into 2 times quantity x minus 7, which is, of course, just 2 star. So by factoring, you can pull out the star from everything, and it's 8x minus 3 over star times 2, and the stars disappear, which leaves you with this answer. Circle A has radius 3n, and circle B has radius 129n, where n is a positive constant. The area of circle B is how many times the area of circle A. So the radius is 41 times as much. I'm sorry, 43 times as much, because 129 divided by 3 is 43. So 43 times the radius. But answer choice A is the trick wrong answer, because the area doesn't vary as the linear multiplier of the radius. The area varies as the square of the radius. Even if you didn't know that, you could do this by plugging in and comparing. So suppose you plug in that n is in Nancy is the number 2. So a radius of 6. Then here is a radius of 258. And there's no shame in writing this out. In fact, I would advise that. So this would be pi times 6 squared. And this would be pi times 258 squared. So here you would have 36 pi, and here you would have a big number. This would be 66,564 pi. And then when you divide the large one by the small one, of course the pi's cancel out. You're left with 1,849. Of course, that's the same as simply 43 squared. Circle has center O and points R and S lie on the circle in triangle ORS. Triangle ORS. So here's O. R and S are on the circle, something like this. Triangle ORS. So triangle ORS is not a sector. It's almost a sector, but it's a triangle. It's this. So angle ROS is 88 degrees. The central angle is 88 degrees. And it's asking about RSO. Oh, I see. So because OS and OR are both radii, then this is an isosceles triangle, which means this angle is the same as this angle. So it's 88 plus x adds up to 180. So you're looking at 2x being 92, which makes the answer 46 degrees. A business owner plans to purchase the same model of chair for each of the 81 employees. The total budget to spend on these chairs is $14,000, which includes a 7% sales tax. Which of the following is closest to the maximum possible price per chair before sales tax the business owner could pay based on his budget? So of course on the right hand side you want it to come out to be less than or equal to $14,000. And then you have 81 times, and then it's the price per chair with its tax increase. So a 7% sales tax is increasing by 7%, which is multiplying by 1.07. And from here, it's just on the calculator. 81 times 1.07 is 86.67x, being less than or equal to 14,000. And then this quotient should be the answer. I got 161.53 in dollars. Yeah. A right triangle has legs with lengths 24 and 21. If the length of the triangle's hypotenuse in centimeters can be written in the form 3 radical d, where d is an integer, what is the value of d? So 21 and 24 by Pythagorean, calling the hypotenuse c as in cat. 21 squared plus 24 squared is c squared. I'm hitting this on the calculator and getting that c squared is 1017. So you must do this by radical reduction. Just guessing it might be divisible by 3. So let's see, I'm going to draw the factor tree. 3 and 339. Then the 339 is again divisible by 3 getting you to 113, which is 113. Is 113 divisible by any... let's see. So I'm looking at 9 times 113 being 1017. So root 1017 could have been thought of as root of 9 times 113, which comes out to 3 root 113. Yeah. And if 3 root 113 is 3 root d, then of course d just is 113. The positive number a is 230% of the number b, as in a equals 2.3b. And a is 60% of the number c, so a is 0.6c. If c is p% of b, so you solve this by the transitive property. You solve, well, if a is this and a is this, then this is this. So 2.3b equals 0.6c. Then it says c is p% of b. So you solve for c as in cat, like this. I'm going to write it the other way around. And I'm going to hit 2.3 divided by 0.6 on the calculator, and I get 3.83 repeating b. So c is 383% of b. For x is greater than 0, the function f is defined as follows. F of x equals 201% of x. A lot of people get tripped up on this one. A lot of people see percent and they assume it's exponential, but it's actually not. This is actually very simple. F of x equals 201% of x. So y is, I'm writing it in words, 201% of x, which is simply y equals 2.01x, which we all know is just an upward sloping line. It's just a line with a slope of 2.01 that goes through the origin, which is increasing linear. So for a question like this, whenever your instinct is to answer it really quickly, always take a deep breath and look at all 4 answer choices. The table gives the coordinates of 2 points on a line in the xy plane. The y-intercept of the line is k minus 5 comma b, where k and b are constants. What is the value of b? So it looks like what you might be able to do here is there's a third point that it gives you, and you could use the slope formula for the distance between any 2 points. So I'm actually going to add in the third one. I'm going to add in the one that it gives as the y-intercept, which is that x is k minus 5 when y is b. So you have this, and then this, and then this. So I'm going to say that the slope of the line that conjoins these 2 points is the same as the slope of the line that conjoins these 2 points using the slope formula. So when I say slope is M as in Mary, which is rise over run, which is difference in y over difference in x, which you could have written as this. Now, for the pink, for the slope that conjoins these 2 points, it would have been b minus 13 is quantity k minus 5 minus k. And then for the slope conjoining the bottom 2 points, it would have been 13 minus negative 15 equals k minus the quantity k plus 7. But since this is a line, the slope that conjoins any 2 points has to be the same. So this has to equal this, and we can just clean this up and solve. B minus 13 over k minus 5 minus k is just negative 5. And this gives you 28. And then this is k minus 7, leaves you with negative 7. So now you're looking at b minus 13 over negative 5 equals negative 4. B minus 13 equals 20, which gives you that b should be 33. Keenan made 32 cups of vegetable broth. Keenan then filled X small jars and Y large jars with all the vegetable broth he made. The equation 3x plus 5y equals 32 represents the situation. What is the best interpretation of 5y? Well, so what they're saying, 3 is the number of cups in a small jar. Y is the number of cups in a large jar. And then y itself is how many large jars there are. So 5 is cups per jar, and y is jars. So 5 times y would be all of the broth you have in the large cups. So total number of cups of vegetable broth, well, it has to be for the large jars, which is why. The total number of cups of vegetable broth in the large jars. Yeah, C is the answer. It's not A as in apple. That would be y itself. 3x equals 36y minus 45. The system has no solution. Which equation could be the second? Okay, so for a system of two lines to have no solution, they have to be parallel but not the same line. So I'm going to carefully put this in slope-intercept form by solving for y. So put this on the other side. I'm going to write it the other way. And then if I divide everything by 3 momentarily, I'm looking at 12y is x plus 15. And then divide by 12 gets you 1/12 x plus 15/12, which you could have written as y is 1/12 x plus 5/4. So you want the other line to have a slope of 1/12, but it cannot have the same y-intercept. Okay, so just going one at a time. It's not A as in apple because that would have a slope of 1/4. B as in boy, if I solved this for y by itself, it would be 1/3 over 4 of x. And 1/3 divided by 4 is 1/12. So this would be 1/12 x. That should be the answer because it's implicitly plus 0. So if you want to graph this, it would be, they both have slopes of 1/12. One of them has a y-intercept of 5/4, and the other goes through the origin. So one of them would go through the origin like this, and the other would be parallel, but go through the y-intercept 0, 5/4. So B as in boy is the answer. Let's look at the others. See, these are designed to trick you. So for example, C as in cat, 12y is x plus 15, gives you that y is 1/12 x, which is the right slope, but then this gives you right back where we were. This gives you the original line up top itself. So if you have the exact same line, technically the system would have an infinite number of solutions because the lines would be on top of each other. So it's B as in boy. Which of the following are solutions to the given equation where A is a constant and A is greater than 30? Okay, so you could actually do this on Desmos. A lot of people's instinct, which is valid, is to graph this on Desmos and see where you get. So I'm going to put f of x is quantity x minus 29, and then g of x is quantity x minus a times quantity x minus 29. Yeah, and it gives you a slider by default in this case. Let me maneuver this so we can still see this. Now, it tells you that a is greater than 30. So add slider. You have to adjust the possible values of the slider. I'm going to go from, 28 to 100, stepping by 1. Okay, and now zoom out to be able to see this. Which of the following are solutions to the given equation if a is greater than 30? So make sure to make a something like, so let's see. I'm just going to pick a random number for a. Suppose a is 34. If a is 34, which is valid because 34 is greater than 30, then the solutions are 29 and 35. So when a is 34, the answers are 29 and 35, which is, of course, Roman numeral 3 and Roman numeral 2. It's not 34, right? It's 35. And then just to confirm, suppose I make a, 47. Suppose I make a 47. Then the answers are still 29. And when I zoom out, I see Yeah, 48. Yeah, so it's 29 and a plus 1. 1 gallon of stain will cover 170 square feet of a surface. A yard has a total fence area of W square feet. Which equation represents the total amount of stain S in gallons needed to stain the fence in this yard twice? Needed to stain it twice. So this is designed to be deceptive because a lot of people will gloss over the word twice, but that's the critical element here. I'm going to do this by example. So suppose that W was an easy multiple of 170, like 510. Now, in order to cover twice would be 1,020 square feet if this was 510 square feet. So if I go to set up the proportion, it would be 170 square feet needs 1 gallon. Then always make sure to write the actual unit. So X gallons would be necessary for 1,020 square feet. And if you cross multiply, you know that you can cancel out the units and get to here and get that X is 6. So when W is 510, the actual answer is that S, I should have said S, so S is 6. Now, which one of them makes this relationship true? For example, if it was A is an apple, is it true that you get 6 when you do 510 divided by 170? No, you get 3. So these are not equal. Okay? Do you get 6 when you do 170 times 510? No, of course not. Do you get 6 when you do 340 times 510? No, of course not. It's D as in dog. You get 6 when you do 510 divided by 85. That's so tricky because everybody tends to miss the word twice and just jump over it. So it's actually D as in dog. In the xy plane, the graph of the equation y equals negative x squared plus 9x minus 100 intersects the line y equals c at exactly 1 point. What's the value of c? This you could do on the calculator. So here I have this typed in, y equals negative x squared plus 9x minus 100. And then for the line y equals c to cross and hit at exactly 1 point, a horizontal line would simply hit at the vertex, right? Because otherwise a horizontal line would cross more than once, and if it was up here, it wouldn't cross at all. So for a horizontal line to intersect a parabola at exactly 1 point, it has to be at the vertex of the parabola. So it would be y equals negative 79.75. Negative 79.75, which I believe is C as in cat, right? Yes. Negative 319 over negative 4. The quadratic function g models the depth in meters below the surface of the water of a seal t minutes after the seal entered the water during a dive. The function estimates that the seal reached its maximum depth of 302.4 meters 6 minutes after it entered the water. Based on the function, what was the estimated depth to the nearest meter of the seal 10 minutes after it entered the water? This is an advanced question because it has to do with quadratic regression, finding the equation of a parabola based on a couple of the points of the parabola. So it's implied that if this is time and this is depth, which I'm going to define depth being negative, that it starts at 0, 0 and reach the surface of the water 12 minutes later. So this is 12, 0. Then it tells you that the maximum depth, well, of course, is 6 minutes later. This is actually redundant. You know that the maximum depth is 6 minutes later if it's a parabola. So this is the point 6, negative 302.4. Now, you can actually get Desmos to do the quadratic regression for you, which is probably what I would recommend in this case. So let me move this over here and show you how you could get Desmos to cooperate. 6, negative 302.4. So on Desmos, I can put in a table and do quadratic regression. I can put in 0, 0, 12, 0, and 6, negative 302.4. Then if I hit this and do quadratic regression, yeah, it'll give you the equation of a parabola. Now you actually could have found that by hand also. It would have taken a little bit longer. So 8.4x squared minus 100.8x. 8.4x squared minus 100.8x. And I'm going to remove this to simplify it. And I have just this. Now you found the general equation. So the depth to the nearest meter of the seal, y minutes after it entered the water. Well, I can simply put in a table for here and say I want to plug in 10. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to put the table for here. Insert a table and insert 10. So it's negative 168 as in a depth of 168. It's a tricky question. The area of a rectangular region is increasing at a rate of 250 square feet per hour. 250 square feet per hour. Which of the following is closest to this rate in square meters per minute? Square meters per minute. So let's first just adjust the units of time. There's a square foot and a square meter. A square meter, by definition, I'm going to draw this and say this square is 1 square meter. So of course every side is 1 meter, of course. But that's also 3.28 feet. 3.28 feet. 3.28 feet. Now 3.28 to the second power is 10.76 square feet. So 1 square meter equals 10.76 square feet. So now when you go to convert, you use that as one element in the skeleton operation. So 250 square feet per hour. Now let's adjust for the unit switching from square feet to square meters. So there are 10.76 square feet that constitute 1 square meter. And then lastly, adjust from hours to minutes. So if this is a 1, then you say 1 hour is 60 minutes. And then you can know that you are in the correct units because this cancels and this cancels. This cancels and this cancels. And you're in square meters per minute. So it'd be 250 over 10.76 times 60. And you're left with square meters per minute. I get an actual number for the fraction on the left, hitting it on the calculator. I'm looking at 0.39 square meters per minute, which is A. In the given pair of equations, A and B are constants. The graph of this pair of equations in the xy plane is a pair of perpendicular lines. Which of the following pairs of equations also represents a pair of perpendicular lines? I'm going to resist the urge to try to jump any steps, and I'm going to write this out carefully. So in the original, 5x plus 7y is 1. 7y is negative 5x plus 1. So y itself is negative 5/7 x plus 1/7. And then in the one below that, ax plus by is 1. by is negative ax plus 1. So y is negative a over b times x plus 1 over b. But the slopes of perpendicular lines must be negative reciprocals. So negative a over b must be the negative reciprocal of negative 5/7, which is 7/5. So if a was negative 7 and b was 5, then this would work, right? Because you'd be looking at, sure, that would give you that. Okay, so now let's see which of the answer choices fit into that same pattern. I realize I may be doing this the very slow way, but if this is this, then from the answer choices, okay, so for answer choice A, 10x plus 7y is 1. So 7y is negative 10x plus 1. Y is negative 10/7 x plus 1/7. And then using the fact that A is negative 7 and B is 5, the bottom one in A is an apple would actually give you, I'm going to write this out carefully, ax minus 2by is 1 is actually negative 7x minus 10y is 1. So negative 10y is 7x plus 1. So 10y is negative 7x plus 1. So y is negative 7/10 x plus 1. So no, because when you finally get to here and here, those are not negative reciprocals. They're actually just reciprocals. Okay, so I'm hoping, well, of course, the answer choices are very close together. It looks like it should be B as in boy, but let's carefully confirm that it's B as in boy using our numbers. So for B as in boy, 10x plus 7y equals 1. 7y is negative 10x plus 1. Y is negative 10/7 x plus 1/7. And then the bottom line for B as in boy would be ax plus 2by equaling 1. But a is negative 7, so negative 7x plus 10y equals 1. 10y is 7x plus 1, so y equals 7/10 x plus 1/10. That should be the answer, right? Because negative 10/7 and positive 7/10 are negative reciprocals for their slopes. So it's B as in boy.